What you see here is a ghost town. It's a town from somewhere near the 1860s, I believe. I may be wrong about the date, but it's from the 19th century when many whites from the United States moved towards the west after the United States annexed the north of Mexico, which today are the eastern states of the United States. There were many of such towns built by what we now call the cowboys. But in the wild, wild west, many of those towns became abandoned due to crime. And when the state of California had a booming economy, I don't want to say booming, but when, due to trade with Japan, because remember, the United States forced Japan to open its ports to American commerce. When the United States, through the state of California, began to trade with Asia through Japan, many moved to California. So many of those towns became abandoned places. Okay? And this is one of such town. But I just want you to consider the following. If you enter a place and it looks like this, you immediately would walk away thinking, man, this place is dead. There's nobody here. According to the Google search, this town is somewhere in North Carolina, even though it has the design of a cowboy village. Anyway, this is a ghost town. You may have such ghost towns still in the United States if you go to the Midwest or to the West. If you want to record a movie there, just hang out with tourists, you can do that. Just be aware that you don't enter a place that's used by drug traffickers or human traffickers, because those folks often use abandoned places also. Don't forget about that. But the reason I'm showing this is because if you would see this, you would think immediately this place is off. This is not a real picture, it's just a painting. But look at this. The city is abandoned. Nature took over the urban constructions. Even the subway, which probably hasn't been active for almost a decade, has plants growing in and around it. So this is becoming like a rainforest again, despite that there are urban constructions in it. If you would enter in a place like this, you would know immediately this is a ghost town. This is abandoned. And why am I showing this? It is because the pagan rulers of this world, they know that perception is everything when it comes to controlling the masses. If the pagan rulers want to fake a population size, they can't just say, for example, that in a province there are 2 million people, if there are only around 90,000 people living there. Because let's say you have a province and there are 90,000 people, 80 villages containing 90,000 people. The villages aren't that huge. Anyone who would take some effort could just travel throughout the province for a half year and they would realize, wait a minute, it can't be over 1 million people over here. So such a scam would fail immediately. But what if you have a province with 90,000 people? They demolish a few villages, so that means that people don't have to live into urban regions. And instead of building houses for the people that come to those urban regions, they built too many houses. They even built some skyscrapers. Now you have a perception of a high population. And you make sure that there are cars moving around. You make sure that there's a subway that's active. You make sure that there's an appearance of activity. There is some activity, and because there are many buildings, you think, whoa, this is a very crowded place. And you make sure that the people have a high rent that they need to pay, so they need to go to work. And because people need to go to work, they are too occupied with working to to pay their bills, so they won't notice much. And because you have folks that are hired that clean the places from time to time to prevent deterioration like this, folks don't notice much. So let's say now you have a province, and there are like 200,000 people living there, including migrants that came to work. Yet, the government says there are 3 million people living there, or 5 million people in that province. The only way this hoax can continue is when people have a perception of occupation. If you don't have a perception of occupation, you can't be fooled into thinking that a place is crowded while it's not. Let me repeat that. If you have no perception of occupation, you can't be tricked into thinking a place is crowded while it's not. You get what I'm saying here? So, what if there are towns, or maybe even cities, where 75% or even 80% of the buildings are not occupied? You may think, Rashid, that's impossible. It's not impossible as long as you control the perception of the population by distracting them with hard work. That is easily done by raising the price of the real estate, or the price of the rent, keeping the wages low, because people become frustrated because they have low wages, but they have a high cost of living. Then you have the political parties that come out to fight for the workers. Then you have the others that quote-unquote neglect the workers. So you have a left wing and right wing, and this further distracts the people, and that's how you keep them trapped in this loop. And this loop prevents them from seeing that they're being hoaxed. It can be that there's enough land for them to start their own farms and to live perfectly and happy, without any interference of having to pay rent and all of that. But you don't want them to realize this. You want to be trapped in this anxiety of, I have to pay bills. Or this anxiety of, I need to please my wife, I need to please my husband. And how do I please them? By conforming to this image that the media has given onto me. Because this is what men like, this is what women like. You keep them in a loop. And by keeping them in a loop, you can exploit them. This loop is a state of anxiety that people don't realize is a state of anxiety. They just think it's life, it's adult life. As a grown up, you need to face things. Well, they're not really facing anything. They're just stuck in a loop without being aware of it. This perception of occupation is what the pagan rulers use to hoax you into this matrix. It is this hoax they're using to convince many people not to have children. And what happens when many folks don't have children, the population size decreases. Now, there is no advantage to the pagan rulers if they have a lower population. Why? Because the demons need to feed off of human energy. And the less human beings you have around, the less demons can feed off. So a lower world population will not benefit the pagan rulers at all, despite what many conspiracy theorists have said over the past decades. What the pagan rulers want is that certain ethnicities decrease in size, so they can have a better hold on them. Because let's say you have, a Chinese minority somewhere. And this Chinese minority has 10 to 12 children per woman. That Chinese community is going to grow. But after a while, the Chinese community is so big that they can sustain themselves without any help from the host country. So they become like a country within a country. And let's say you don't want this. Then you convince the Chinese women that they are empowered women, they shouldn't have many kids. Having kids is something of the past. You can have kids, but you need to plan it, you need to manage your husband or whatever. You fill their heads with a lot of garbage. What happens? A lot of Chinese women indeed don't have kids. So eventually the population size of the Chinese community drops, of that migrant community. Eventually, you'll see more elderly people than young people, and the young folks cannot sustain all those elderly people. So that those elderly people either become dependent on the system, or they'll die off, due to loneliness or because they're not taken care of. As simple as that. But if you want to decrease an ethnicity, you're not going to tell them that you want to decrease them. Because they'll think, why do you want to decrease us? They'll realize immediately they're under attack. You'll offer this decrease of their community as an advantage, even though it's no advantage at all. So let's say, for example's sake, you target a migrant community of Chinese folks. Let's say that after 50 years, indeed, that Chinese migrant community is dying out. Because the tiny amount of young people that are around aren't even motivated to have kids, nor to build families. Some do, but eventually that Chinatown where they live will become extinct. But you don't want the Chinese folks to realize this, so you hire in actors to move around there, to clean the buildings and all of that. So then nobody notices that the place is going extinct. Until it becomes too obvious and you can't deny it anymore. The parable I just gave on to you of decimating or destroying a Chinese migrant community, that's going on now at large with what we call the white ethnicity, or some people call it Caucasians or white people. That's going on with them right now. And there are many places that belong to quote-unquote white people that are becoming extinct. You won't notice the extinction immediately because you see activity, there's a perception of occupation. But that perception of occupation is a deception. The perception of occupation is a deception to depopulate a region. The perception of occupation is a deception to hide extinction. Okay? So anytime you enter a place and there is this mall, but you only see 10 or 12 people in that mall and it's during the week, something ain't right. Or if you're in a town and it's Sunday, people still need to go out and do things. If you walk through our town and there are many houses, decorated houses over there, but there's no one on the street, you don't hear a sound, something is wrong. The pagan rulers are hiding that some places are becoming extinct. Why? To keep folks trapped in the matrix. Well, I just wanted to inform you about this. And realize when a place is going extinct, the first thing you'll notice is that many businesses will close. Many young folks will move away. When you see an increase in elderly people, begin to ask some serious questions. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.